Hey everybody, welcome back to this week's market update, and we've got a great one for you today. The Bitcoin intermission is over. We're at the end of the correction. We saw Bitcoin recover 50% in the last 2 weeks, and this is just the beginning. So strap in, I'm gonna give you an update. All right, the first thing I wanna show you here is the latest price. Okay, so we're at 46,409. Looks like we're just on the verge of printing a new local all-time high. We'll see what happens. Now, technical analysis is not really something that I use when it comes to Bitcoin, and the reason why is very simple. We have, with Bitcoin, something that's incredibly unique, and that's an open, robust, very rich data set that virtually no other asset has. So technical analysis, if you look at really the people that use technical analysis a lot, they're using it for stocks. They're also trying to use it for Bitcoin, but it doesn't really work well for Bitcoin because Bitcoin is unique in that way. If we know every Bitcoin that exists, if we know where those Bitcoins are, and if we can analyze that data to establish patterns and trends, that information is way more valuable, and that's what we do over here, than just looking at a chart and trying to draw lines on a chart. But what technical analysis is useful for is to understand what technicians and people that work and trade Bitcoin are looking at, because if they're looking at this data and they're making decisions on this data, then we could probably see what they're thinking. And something really great happened in the past week, and that is there's a 200-day moving average. Okay, and what that is it's a line on the price chart that averages out the price across 200 days. There's also the 50-day, the 100-day. Now, we've been riding above the 50 and 100, but we didn't break out above the 200 until just on the 9th, which was 3 days ago. And if you see, since then, we've been pretty much, except for, a very short period of time on the 10th, we've been riding above. And what this does, the longer we stay above this 200 SMA, what we're doing is we're giving those traders that would be trading on this information the confidence that we are out of that correction, that we're out of, there's still people that believe that we could have gotten into a bear market, or that that the bear market is still in play. So the longer we stay above this level, and this level right now is around 45,000, the better for, the continuation of the bull market. But that's not all. There's a lot more metrics. There's a lot more information that we're able to get from the blockchain itself that tells us that next couple of weeks and months is going to be incredibly bullish. And here's one of them. So this is SOPR, Spend Output Profit Ratio. You've seen this before. This tells us when you see this activity above the one line, this one is really a 1-to-1 ratio of profit and loss on sold Bitcoins. So any sells above this line are being sold at a profit. And what we want to look for on this metric is what we saw just print 2 days ago. And that is a clear deflection off the 1-to-1 ratio. What this is telling us is that selling is being met with equal amounts of demand. There's enough buyers in the market that are meeting the sellers at their price and keeping these sellers profitable. What this tends to do is, if you're an investor, you're going to hold on a little bit more because now the sentiment is changing back to a bullish sentiment. It means that investors are more likely to hold on to their Bitcoin, knowing that there's demand coming in and that the price will go up in the future. And if they know the price is going to go up in the future, they're less likely to sell it. And it creates more of a supply crunch. And the supply crunch is a theme that we're starting to see really build up in the market right now. Next thing I want to show you. Okay, this is what we call the DCA Army. These are wallets that are being created and funded with Bitcoin that are between 0.001 Bitcoin, which is just a few dollars, and 10 Bitcoin. And if you look at this chart, okay, we came out of March 2020. This is COVID. We had just an incredible amount of monetary inflation, not just from the United States Central Bank, but other central banks around the world. And that really led to some dollar cost averaging activity, mostly by retail buyers. There's also maybe some, corporate funds in here. We're still talking about 10 Bitcoins. 10 Bitcoins right now is about, $460,000. There's a significant amount. But most of this is really small amounts. And what you see here is May 19th, we really saw an incredible shift in the rate. The rate of buying is picking up. This is DCA Army. what the DCA Army is really doing is it's taken up a lot of supply, 520,000 Bitcoins as we speak, and that's creating an incredible support. It's like Rick Astley. Rick Astley, never going to give you up, never going to let you down. Willy Woo is, that's what he calls, these kinds of buyers. These buyers, very interesting to look at. We're going to want to keep an eye on this. As long as this rate of acquisition of Bitcoin continues, they're always there, and they're always buying. They show no sign of letting up, and this is one of the factors that are contributing to that supply crunch. Okay, now you ask yourself the question, what happened to all those bears? There were so many people that were saying that Bitcoin's going to go below $30,000. If you're watching this right now, you probably thought, if you weren't watching me and listening to me, of course, you probably thought that we were going to go below $30,000 and you were going to get a better deal on your Bitcoin. It never happened. There were some dips below it, good buying opportunities. We managed to have orders on the books at those times, 29,700, 29,800. But we didn't really see any rallies that really went below 30,000. So the question I had for myself last night when I was preparing this update is, we know the bears are demoralized. Are they still in the market? Are they out? Did they buy? So I got a new tool here, and I'm going to show you this. So here's the $30,000 mark, okay? And you can see, it's very hard to see. It's kind of faint, and I have actually a ticket with support. But what you can see here is these lines are showing the depth and the amount of orders that were on the exchanges. And these are really investors that are waiting, or traders that were waiting to pick up some sweet, sweet, cheap Bitcoin below 30,000. And if you kind of move to the right over here, you see that they moved their orders when the price went up to about 34, 35, 36, and they're thinning out. What happened? I'm thinking that they are starting to come into the market, and that's creating this uptrend. They're FOMOing in, they're capitulating, so they're moving from demoralized. If they wanted Bitcoin at 30,000 or less, they're now buying it at 40,000 and above, which is what you would expect. And if this continues to happen, obviously that's contributing to the supply crunch and creating higher price points in the future. All right, last one. So, if you saw last week's update, I was talking about the amount of supply that exists on the exchanges, and they're at their lowest levels since the May 19th, right before the May 19th liquidation. That's what we have here. So we are still, we're at all-time lows, which is incredible. Price right now is 46,000, and we have the same amount of liquid supply on the exchanges that we had when the price was at 60 to 65,000. And what that means is, if you can imagine this 200 or so thousand Bitcoins, these 200 or so thousand Bitcoins have been bought by long-term convicted holders that are no longer available to buy. So what happens now when we have demand and volume come back? We have a much more hardened supply at this level, which is going to lead to rapid price appreciation over the next couple of weeks, next couple of months. And I'm very wary about making price predictions. I talk about old prices that we printed. We printed an all-time high of 65,000. I anticipate we're going to see 65,000 next couple of weeks. And right from there, it's going to be a short putt to 100,000. One interesting note is that after we have a mid-cycle correction and we go back to that old all-time high, which right now is at 65,000, we never see that price again. It's happened in every market cycle. If you go back to the price history, you'll be able to see that for yourself. So my key takeaway is grab some popcorn. You've got a front row seat to one of the most exciting times in Bitcoin's history. Certainly in this market cycle, it's going to be a crazy couple of weeks. Make sure you drink a lot of water and take care of yourself. And it's really important. We talk a lot about prices on these market updates, but it's critically important. Take the time to really understand Bitcoin, what it means, how it works, how important it is to people around the world. If you watched Congress this week, they were voting on amendments to the infrastructure bill as it relates to tax regulation for crypto, and you can see that a lot of the senators that were talking about it were just clueless. Take the time to really understand what it is and how meaningful it is to our society and our really our global economy and our freedom. So with that, I'll see you next week. Thank you very much for watching. And if you want to know how to get started in learning about Bitcoin, just reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to set you on the right path.